Thank you so much, Alexander Prusak. I spent how long is it already? 41 minutes without microphone. Oh no. Ay, ay, ay. Thank you for pointing that out. One little button on the interface. Totally forgot. That's why nobody's watching, right? Oh well. It happens. And nonetheless, I'm mostly talking to myself anyway, right? So, how are you doing, Alexander? What brings you here? Alrighty, so we have this part done, that part done. This is unhappy for unknown reasons. Record val has no type. Yeah, because it constantly thinks that there's something wrong somewhere. Yeah. It can't find the record ID, which is surprising. Hopefully after compilation is gonna work. Okay, so now what? Can I run my tests? Let's say I'm gonna go here and I should be able to run the current file. Undeclared identifier inside the record ID, surreal value. Oh, that's what it is. I see. Ah, okay. So this is one situation where NIM kind of struggles. Notice that our record ID object requires surreal value, while surreal value requires the record ID. And what that means is that, unfortunately, we need to define record ID within the same type definition. Okay, not the end of the world, it's relatively small, and I think we can just make it a reference object straight up, okay? And why a reference object? It's a good question, because we just have a string, which is a pointer to a string, I believe, and the ID, which is pointer to surreal value. Maybe we can just make it into object, and that's it, because we just copy this around and that's it. We'll try that. Not sure that's the greatest idea, but we can always just add this in front of something as should be fine. So not a big deal. So that means we have surreal this, surreal that, and we can add our record ID, I guess somewhere here. Come on. Go away, comment. So this should be here. And now here, I should be able to just say, import the surreal value and define all those extra things on the record. So, this in theory shouldn't need record anymore, right? Because, I mean, it does the comparison. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, I don't like that. I really don't like that. Okay, I guess we need to grab our record stuff. No. Yeah, okay. So the things that we had defined here as the record, for the record, we can just grab all of those and just plop them in this new file here. And that way we can create new record IDs from scratch. We can have our comparison, a bunch of other things, hopefully. Record ID, serial record ID, because all this should be embedded now. This goes away, and serial value will be now what? So this is that's good. Comparison is implemented right here. We're comparing those various data types. Oh, and now for the record ID, I would need to have it defined already here. So I wonder if we can include those before we define that particular functionality. And that means that we have all the fancy things implemented, and therefore we can actually compare those. Because this is a more complex value that we can't just compare. Okay. So what happens now when I try to run this thing? Come on. To surreal string. For type system string. Ay. That's true. Huh. This only gets trickier and trickier. That means because record depends on so many things, we need to put it somewhere here because this depends on a few other ones specifically. Okay, this could fix it. Okay, now continuing. Record ID type mismatch. Okay. Are you serious? All right, so I guess we have one extra thing because now serialization to string. We have it defined partially in shared. In shared, we have serialization to string of serial value, right? That we want to use from within record here. Ay. Yeah, why? Well, this just says, hey, serialize that. Oh no, so this is again a loop. I don't like that. So let's simplify one thing. The serial value, let's go to our record ID. Let's make both table and the ID. Just export it, okay? This way we can have direct access. We don't need to put any extra guards there or whatever. We'll just leave it the way it is. Therefore, in here, we can already remove this too. Oh, need to sneeze. Be right back. Alrighty. So we can already remove those two. It's already better. Everywhere we have id.id. Do we need that? ID. Yeah. Okay. ID.table and all those things. They should be accessible anyway. So I don't think we need to do anything else here. Okay, that's fine. So that means that when we go to shared, in theory, we could just serialize it and know how to serialize it here. But at the same time, I would like the record ID to be able to serialize itself. Oh no. So this needs to know how to serialize record ID, while record ID needs to know how to serialize this thing. Come on. In so many other languages, it would be so easy to do. Well, here we have circular dependencies, unfortunately. Ay, ay, ay. Do we need to just straight up put implementation here? I guess. We're gonna have duplicated implementation, but we should live. So we get the table and we serialize the ID, which reuses itself. So this is just recursive here. So that should be potentially fine, right? Should be. Okay. I'm fine with that. More bots trying to spam stuff on Twitch as always. All right. Okay, I'm good with that. That means that the serialization itself could exist here on a record ID, I think. And Alexander says, I think there's an old issue to follow that concerns circular dependencies missing a nym. Okay. I see. I just remember reading through manual and all the tutorials to know that there are issues with that. I mean, in theory, I could just predefine, what was it? Forward declaration, just like you do in C++ and potentially in C. I don't know if that's the concept in C. But in C++, you have forward declaration, so in theory, I could do it. So, yeah, let's check that. Name forward declaration. So, following does not. Use the file, the usage. Okay. So, wait a moment. Oh, so we can define it within the file. Let's see if there's some other thing here. Serial port 1 forward declaration. Variable procedure, etc. needs to be declared before it can be used. The reason for this is that it is non-trivial to avoid this need in a language that supports metaprogramming as extensively as nym does. Yeah. However, this cannot be done for mutually recursive procedures. So we could define it here, and then we have them here. So here all depends on even and vice versa, thus even needs to be introduced to the compiler before it is completely defined. The syntax for such a forward declaration is simple. Just omit the equals and the procedure's body. The assert just adds order conditions and will be covered later. Okay, sure. So, all right. So I think we could utilize that. Thank you for that, Alexander. Because inside a record here, we're trying to use whatever's defined for the whole thing. for the whole surreal value. That means we would need to have this proc from shared because they're all included within the surreal value file. It's all within one file. So in theory, we should be fine, right? So let's just do this here and just mark it as forward declaration as record ID uses it or whatever needs it, and possibly that will be it, right? So go to shared, and by this point we already have the other one defined. Where is it? Therefore, we could just say, what is it? Value, record, value. Where did that come from suddenly? What? Control delete? No. I have no idea what I just pressed. I did. Ah, okay, I see. Control slash and it's backward slash and just opens a new tab. Good to know. Record value. That's it. So let's try to run our test again wherever it went. Ah, okay, it compiled. That's progress. That's massive progress. Okay. That's good. So we can just go and run all the tests to make sure that it still works. So let's just make sure that all our tests are enabled. We just don't have the implementation for the date times. Other than that, everything is here. So we could just go run tests. Let's just make sure that it all still works, because we moved some things around and I just want to be 100% sure that we didn't break anything, because that would be unfortunate to build upon. Oh, those tests are slow for sure. I guess they're slow because it builds each file separately and runs it as a separate application, so it compiles everything a million times. But that's something we could probably solve in the future. So no big deal. Okay, we're slowly going through the decoder tests. Hello, Misha. How are you doing? She says, I saw your only test float 32 and float 64, but I believe SurrealDB can send float 16, however. Yes, the floating point stuff is basic for now, because NIM doesn't support float 16th out of the box, and I just want to get to the point where I am able to receive some stuff and send some stuff to SurrealDB, and that's where I'll be patching up all the things, because I'll need to roll my own float implementation, which is something very alien to me. Low-level programming is very alien to me. So yeah, I'm aware. Alrighty. How are you doing, by the way? Okay, that works. So we can get rid of the old record stuff that doesn't get used anymore, at least in the context of serial values. Okay, our forward declaration seems to have worked. So yeah, that's great. So now we need to start testing it. So we can go to not decoding, not encoding, but overall surreal value tests, and we're gonna start testing it. So test surreal value record ID. And I guess this will be not only just serial value that encompasses it, but also the basic tests for the type itself, because we need to make sure it works in both forms. Misha says JavaScript doesn't either. For the JS SDK, I grabbed some code which transforms a float 16 to float 32, so that's that. Case can be handled properly. Yep. I just didn't have an example code. I'll need to just, sit down, look at it, actually use my brain for a change. And Misha says, I'm very well, busy. How are you? Well, I'm doing well. I'm always struggling with mornings. For me, it's 12 already, but I don't wake up till, like 1 o'clock or something. Fully, at least. So, yeah, also busy weekend. All the leaves are blowing everywhere now, so that's fun. At least the weather's getting better. It's less oppressively hot. Okay, so real value, and let's do record ID. Okay, that'll be that. So, I mean, we kind of should have two suites here. We should also have a second suite, which is serial value record ID, and the other one would be serial record ID. Kind of those two, right? Or can we? Oh, we can probably test both in one. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's not overcomplicate. One uses the other. If something breaks somewhere, we'll know for sure. Which just says, oh, you're a little 6 hours behind. Yep. What do you think of CBOR thus far? I really like CBOR. It's a really interesting, like simple yet powerful format, I'd say. Yeah, I'm impressed. I was actually able to read the RFC. Other viewer, Taras Mazepa, he basically forced me to go and read the RFC, and it's like, wow, okay, this is really understandable and really fun. And, including all the incremental, whatever, indefinite length things. I have tests for that, at least for decoding. For encoding, I don't think it will be used yet, but it's really easy to implement, so that's fun. And I can already see the possibility of, hey, we have this already partially encoded, this partially encoded, and let's just fill those gaps like JavaScript does. So that's gonna be fun too, to optimize it even more. So yeah, enjoying it. I can take language like Nim, where I can barely know what I'm doing, and start getting to the point where things are working. So that's awesome. And Misha says, I had the same experience. Glad you like it. Yep. I'm just want to finally get to the point where I try to send something to SurrealDB. All right, so, and how far are we from that, by the way? Because we're working on tag 8 now. Then we have UUID, which we can probably skip. Decimal, we can probably now skip. Other date time. Containing seconds. Okay, that kind of date time we can do. A string format. Duration. We can probably skip durations for now. Although I wonder if duration is being set. Yeah, we'll see. I guess after the record ID, after we have it tested, we'll just try to connect to SurrealDB and send some empty query or something and see what we get back. And we can start caching the responses from the database and just deserialize them roughly into some kind of debug format where it just says, okay, was this tag with that, and we'll start figuring out what next we need to implement. Because things like geometry, I personally haven't used it. I know that it's somewhat niche initially, so this could be probably just added later. Just don't know which ones we need to implement straight away. And Misha says, eventually I'd like to build a WASM module for CBOR encoding and decoding for the JS SDK as a plugin. Should speed up a bit. Yep, that's definitely an option. It will be also nice to have it, this whole WASM implementation in JS as some kind of option. Because I know that the SDK will be used in two separate ways. First one, where from time to time you need to send a little bit of data, maybe one query, maybe something, and performance isn't that necessary. But what is necessary is that, you know, the page loads fast, you don't use the whatever end users data too much and whatnot, because downloading WASM, starting it up, and everything that consumes RAM, consumes, you know, we need to have more stuff to download and whatnot. So if that could be a flag or just different variant of the library that you just download with npm or something, then yeah, that would be great, because there will be also some heavy usage, like, you know, my benchmarking thing where it sends a bunch of benchmarks, multiple clients connected at the same time. So that's where WASM definitely would step in. And hey, the thing about Nim is that I could just take this and compile it to JavaScript or to WASM too. So that's funny. Misha says, yep. And Misha says tags for future values and for ranges are currently missing from the docs, by the way. Yep. I'll update that soon, but for the moment, you can copy from the JavaScript SDK. Yep, I had them marked up with links to JavaScript. And yep, it will be a plugin into the JS SDK, just like how the WASM and Node engines work. Nice, easy, and pluggable. The main SDK needs to stay small for browsers. It's around 40 kilobytes at the moment. Awesome. That's great news. That's very great news. And I don't remember, is the JavaScript SDK available via what was it? JSR? Because I know it's through npm, but I don't remember if it's through JSR. Because I wonder if that could simplify things in the future too. Okay, so let's just start testing the record IDs. So let's just get the basics, okay? So let's go to record.nem and start looking at it, because we have two Surreal record ID where we can get the record ID. So let's just make sure that we can create from a string, okay? So let's just do this very simple thing. So we're just gonna have const representation 1 is table 1 ABCD, something like that. And we just say record 1 new record ID. Because we have several options here. We could have this, right? And we could have, you know, check. Yeah, let's focus on this one first. The proper way to do it. We just need to private type Surreal value. This should be available, okay. And Misha says npm and JSR. That's awesome. That's super awesome. JSR is just absolutely awesome. Yeah, there's something about JSR that just makes me very happy that they actually move that forward. And recently, I listened to a nice podcast. I think it's JS Party. Uh, Interview with I think it was with the creator of Node and Dino, where he was also talking a little bit about JSR, what the goal is, and I really like the points of saying that, you know, considering how JavaScript, moves forward so fast, so many things are changing. The fact that npm hasn't changed basically since it started, as a package manager, there was no innovation there at all. It's just the same way. Since then, you had TypeScript show up, you had whole idea of bundling to show up, and all those things that haven't existed when it was created. So bundling and setting up TypeScript, if you're not specializing in TypeScript and in overall configuration of JavaScript bundlers and tooling, you're gonna have real tough time to do things properly and optimized. And just the fact that finally, JavaScript is supposed to be this easy language that you just can do whatever you want quickly, and it somewhat works. JSR breaks that, and hey, just upload your TypeScript. Your docs will build your package for TypeScript, and non-TypeScript will just be built automatically. Everything linked properly. Just that's it, done, and available in Dino and Node and Bun and in whatever else. You know, awesome. Just makes me very happy. I had to check how Valtown is dealing with JSR recently, if they got better support. Because I know if you Valtown behind the scenes use Dino, is just they had a problem with, autocomplete or something else. Okay, so that record one is this new record, right? So I don't know why this is saying, oh, because this needs to be TB to be a table name. Okay, so got a record of one, and we're just gonna say check if this is table, check if this is ABC D, and check that this, when we serialize it, it looks exactly like this one. Although I actually don't want to do that. This one little thingy. When I will be serializing string ones, where do we have it? Somewhere here. Serialize, right? I had just serialized the string, serialized this and that. I would actually like to cover a scenario where if this is the ID content is a string, I want to put in those curly square, whatever, those funny square brackets to escape it. Because if we provide a string that's a number, we still want to be to be considered a string, right? Because we gave it as a string. So yeah. Okay. If there we go. It knows what we want to do, right? uh so we just have that part. We just want to say if the ID is a string, we need to enclose in uh we have them somewhere. In some tests we had those brackets. It could be somewhere in string decoder. Um, hmm. I think it might have been in the main large test, which is here. I hate looking for those stupid symbols. Let's just look at the documentation page. I think that's gonna be 30 times faster. And it just says there are quite some scenarios where you need to escape the record ID contents. Best to have it look as the JS SDK. That should cover all cases. Oh, so you're saying it's not that trivial. Okay. I'm gonna look at that in a second. Thanks for a heads up. Do we have it defined here? Those examples? There we go. Oh, because dashes and whatnot, so that's gonna get escaped as well. Record ID can contain context characters. Interesting. So let me just specify it here. For now, before we do the implementation. Bam, and there we go. For now. So let's look at record IDs in JS SDK. I believe I have it loaded, right? So I have the CBOR, and can we search for record ID? That's for decode. But I want to encode. Okay, encode, new tagged, tag record ID. So we need to check how tagged is being encoded. Ay, ay, ay. Instance of tagged. Because you've got the record ID. Instance of, not range, geometric points. Ay, ay, ay. So we've got this. We just returned a tag, which is just tagged. Huh. So isn't that supposed to just... Huh. Can you take me here, please? So this is just a class. Ay, 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 ay. That's inside the replacer. Wasn't it somewhere in some engines or something? I don't think so. It shouldn't be, right? Because CBOR should be separate. At the same time, there's like barely anything here. What the heck? What am I missing? Return new tagged. And that just returns tagged. Where is the encoding of tagged itself? That's my question. Code CBOR just encodes this thing. Which says source data types record ID for the stringification logic. Okay, thank you. Source data types record ID. Okay, so let's take a peek. The tag class is then used by the CBOR / encoder. Oh, okay, we have separate encoder file there. Okay, thank you. To string, table is escape indent and escape ID part. And then we just do that. Okay, so we have the escaping for the table. If it's only numbers, just do that. Upper alpha, lower alpha. Replace all those. Wait, what? Replace all instances of a substring and a string using a regular expression or search string. So we search for this and replace it with this? What? It's the same character. What the hell? That one's confusing. The replace is wrong. It should skip it. We'll fix this next week. All right. Okay, so somehow we should escape it. And we escape it using some uint encoding or something, I presume. Okay, so I guess we need to escape this one, and then we have the other one, which will be escape ID part. So, oh, okay. So we have the record ID. If ID is UUID, then we're doing what? If ID is an instance of UUID, we just write it as a duration? What? Otherwise, we do string. If it's a string, then we escape the identity, just like we did with the other one. Otherwise, if it's big int or a number, we escape the number. Otherwise, we just use JSON stringification. Oh, interesting. Okay. And Misha says that UID thing is also wrong. Should have view prefix. My days. I need to write more tests for this. Yep. No worries. At least you found those two, right? So this should be you. And oh, just have a backslash in the front for the other thing. Okay, there we go. Although this tries to, I guess I need to do this. Okay, makes sense. All right, good. Alrighty, so if that's the case, I guess we could just focus on making sure that works, right, in NIM. So we're just gonna put those side by side and try to make it work. Just grab our record NIM and start chipping at it. Okay. So something like escape number and identification. Escape ident. Can I check find all references? Because also inside the range we're using that. And then we're using that also in index just to re-export it, right? Yeah, just to re-export it. Other than that, we're using here where we say toString table beginning and end. Okay, so we're using that basically to escape a bunch of stuff. So we should make it a utility then. Okay. We're gonna turn it into utility. I'm gonna make the one on the right a little bit smaller so that I can still read it. I know it's gonna be teeny tiny on stream, but I need more room for this one on the left. Okay. Does VS Code has some kind of Zen mode or something? Like focus mode? Where you get rid of all those? I'm sure there is. Let's see. Zen. Toggle Zen mode. Isn't this from some kind of other... No, source system. Okay. KZ. Nope. Oh, but it makes it totally full screen. Okay, so that is not what I wanted. Oh well. We'll live the way it works for now. So let's just figure out some additional thing. So this whole thing with how we or whatever escape that string, is it CBOR only related or is it overall? I think it's not purely CBOR thing. So we could have it somewhere in utils. Yeah, let's just shove it in here for now. It should be good enough, right? For starters. We're gonna have proc escape identifier. I guess we'll just call it that way. And then we're gonna have string, whatever text as string, right? And we're gonna return string. What the hell am I doing? Getting confused between the two. Misha says you don't need to send a record ID inside CBOR at all. That's the nice thing about it. It's used just for stringification. You don't need to send a record ID. But yeah. For that you don't have to, because you're just sending either the actual value, actual string value, or actual something, right? Yeah, exactly. You can just do float and whatnot. So when you go to record, you can see that we have, surreal value. You can see that we have definition of record ID as a table and some kind of surreal value, which could be many things, because when I have, creation of the new one somewhere from surreal value, you can see that we're checking that if it's either string, integer, float, array, or object, or in a future decimal. And then it just holds that value only. And I'm right now trying to implement it for serialization. to string, right? Because this is, you know, equivalent of to string and nim. And that's not gonna be used inside CBOR implementation itself. It's just gonna be outside of it where I'm comparing things if they're actually the same thing. You know, so that let's say I define this new record ID by giving it some kind of string value by using, for example, where's it? String. Yeah, this one, to create a string, right? I give it a string. I could put whatever in that string. I need to make sure that whatever's inside there is properly escaped. Therefore, basically, if this we pass, there's a parameter or some maybe other things where somebody just, you know, hey, give me this thing. I want to use it in some query, and somebody builds a query for some reason using string format, it's going to be properly escaped, right? So that's, you know, it needs to be implemented there. It's not CBOR purely, so I agree on that. So yeah, that's that. So I understand what you're saying. So escape identifier. So string which looks like a number should always be escaped to prevent it from being parsed as a number. Okay, so let's just name it escapes and then identifier a string identifier, so that can be used within SurrealQL. Okay, because that's the only usage for it in that format, Surreal query language. So string which looks like a number should always be escaped, right? So is only numbers. What is only numbers? We try to parse integer, and if it's not, oh, we just say yes or no, and that's it. So is only numbers. What about floating point numbers? Is that a different edge case? Because I don't think we're checking for that here. Oh, okay. So I think that's the thing with other things like, let's say in SurrealDB objects, they're the key and the key value pair of an object in SurrealDB. If you just give it a numbers like an integer, it will just keep printing it as an integer, even though behind the scenes is a string. But if you're gonna give it with, I know, 1.23, it's gonna suddenly start escaping it. So it's more explicit that it's an actual string. Okay. Which says record ID numbers only support integers at the root level, not floats. Oh, that's interesting. Record ID numbers. All right, didn't know that, because it was just saying that, okay, it's the docs are basically specifying record ID represented to value array containing table part, string, and an ID, which can be string, number, object, or array. And this number suggests that it's either integer or float. So that means that in my record definition, I need to basically say there's no such thing as creating it from a float. Okay. And therefore, we're not supporting float and we're not supporting decimal. I think. Unless decimal suddenly is available. But decimal could have comma too, right? So, hey, at least that's gonna simplify it. I don't mind that. Okay, let's progress forward. So string which looks like a number should always be escaped. Is digit. What is digit? Let's just check if we have something in a nim standard library for that already. Is digit. String utilities is digit. Checks whether or not C is a number. So that's just one single digit. Is alphanumeric. That's for a single character as well. Digit. Do we have something more than checking single thing? So there's only numbers. Process to parse it as integer. I think we could just iterate over each element of the thing. So proc is digits. Give it text, checks if string contains only digits. For C in text, if not C as digit, return false, otherwise return true. There we go. So we just need to do some imports. String utilities, and that should be it. And therefore we can just say text is digits. We just do that part. There we go. Perfect. Because only numbers, just checks that, and that should be it. Oh, wait a moment. Oh. So your use case is only numbers will also accept if it starts with a dash, like negative something. Let me grab Surrealist. There's a new version. Okay, that's awesome. So, what's new in 3.5? Include read-only in output, update sandbox to serial. Okay, great. So we're actually gonna open up sandbox. Haven't done that in a while. So let's say that we're gonna say create some table. I'm gonna say -12. Set text is wololo, right? So okay, so it supports ID to be like that, huh? Okay, that's new. Okay, I guess we can have negative numbers. Because I don't want to use parse integer because that means we're actually parsing it, which is not only checking if these are digits, it also on top of that checks for various other things. But oh no, this will be like JavaScript oriented because I wonder if parse int also supports dividers or something. What if we're gonna create because -12.0, gonna run it. It's gonna complain, but what if I'm gonna use a comma? It's gonna complain about it as well. Okay. Underscore. Oh, underscore turned into 120. So that's a separator. So, okay, so that's possible to use underscores as separators. The question is it supposed to be like that? Because how does it translate to other languages? I know this is running on some kind of, JavaScript web page, but is the same functionality being supported for like that number in Rust SDK? Is it supported in Go or in Python? What is the standard here? That's the question. Hmm. Hmm. What am I gonna put two separated side by side? Already exists, so it just straight up ignores underscores completely, and that's that. So let's just say it's not is digits. Let's call it is surreal integer. Okay, and is parsable to surreal is parsable to integer, something like that. Can parse as int. There we go. So that means that we need to take care of it first differently. Parsed as an integer. Okay, so we're gonna say first character must be a digit or minus. Okay, text 0 not in this thing. Wait, would that work? What? I guess it could, but there's probably a better way. um, let's do it separate. Text 0 is not equal to this and not to is digit. Okay? If it's not those, we say it's false. And then we need to go through the rest of the characters, and basically that's it. So let's do all other characters or a separator. And we'll just for now support only underscore. So we're just gonna say for I equals 0, wait, for I, and from 1 to the text length, -1. Oh, we already have -1. Okay. Uh, it's not digit, and this return false. Otherwise, return true. Okay, I think that should take care of it. If all the underscores are completely ignored. So if text can parse as integer, we just need to escape it. Or do we? Escape identifier. Oh no. If is only numbers, so string which looks like a number should always be escaped. So that's for, oh, I see. So that's, for example, for a table name, right? Because in theory, I could do -12 as this and that, right? That doesn't work because that's gonna table with that name. It's gonna only work if we're gonna enclose it in this. Run query, and we can have a table name like that, which is ridiculous, but it works. Okay. All right. That works. That's the first part. Second part is we have code, index, and length. From 0 to okay, we have 0, then we have length set to this, and I is less than length. Code is character code at this situation. So basically, if it's not alphanumeric, numeric, upper alpha, lower alpha, or underscore, we need to escape it. Okay, so all the other characters need to be escaped. I see. And then we also need to escape the closing brackets. What about opening ones? Oh yeah, opening one, if it's inside, it's good enough. Okay, I see. All right, so only alphanumeric and underscores are allowed. Everything else needs to be escaped. Okay. Misha says it always needs to be escaped because if you output the string with only numbers unescaped, then it will be parsed back as an integer record ID, making it a different value. Yep. So that's that. That's at least if for the record ID would be if we want to specify that it's explicitly a string value, then we always need to do it that way, you know, to escape it. And in case of a table name, of course, we need to escape it because table name can be only a string. Makes sense. So only alphanumeric characters and underscores are allowed. Everything else needs to be escaped. So we're gonna recreate the logic here, where we go for every character, and we basically need to wait, return string. Okay, so we're modifying the string that we got as an input here. So if it's something else, replace this with that. Ah, okay. So if we find a single character that doesn't match, we need to escape it. I see. Okay. Makes sense. So we basically want a for loop for this whole thing. So for character in text. Okay, that's gonna be a little bit shorter than JavaScript. So, okay. Is alphanumeric or this? So, what is alphanumeric exactly? Checks whether C is not an alphanumeric. And this checks AZ, lowercase, AZ, uppercase, and 0 to 9 ASCII characters only. Perfect, that's exactly what we want, just the ASCII characters. All right. I am liking that. Or underscore. And if that's the case, I guess it already figured out from the right screen that we're writing the same thing. So we basically escape it. So we start with this one, and then we have the replace, which probably needs to be fixed because that expects this to be mutable. But what we can do is var escape text is our text. Okay. And we can just do this part, possibly. So replace expects string sub. Oh, it just creates a new one. Okay. String, substring, and possibly character or other string. Huh? What the heck's going on here? Weird stuff. Okay. Weird stuff. So we want to replace. We don't need a copy because that returns a new string. Okay. So text replace. We want to replace this. Not this. No. We want to replace this funny thing with this thing. There we go. And then add the other stuff at the end. It's still complaining, but it shouldn't be, right? Oh, what do I get C from? Confusing. Okay, there we go. And we just return. If nothing happened, we just return a string unchanged, right? Okay, this is a little bit shorter. Good. All right, this is nice. Okay. So let's do to do verify that only the underscore is accepted as a separator. So that's something that will need to be verified here. But okay, that's good. That's good. So we can't escape that. All right. So we've got first escaping of the identifier. And then we have additional escape ID part. And is that used anywhere? It's in record ID and again in a range. So we need to have it as some kind of utility here. Okay, makes sense. So let's do proc escape ID part. Sure, good enough name. These are things that are difficult to name usually. So we have type of record ID value, which could be a bunch of those things. I see. So in our case, the ID value is not those. Could be UUID, something that hasn't been mentioned there. So if I'm gonna go to CBOR, it suggests that it can be string, number, object, or an array. What about UUID? Because UUIDs aren't supposed to be automatically figured out that they are those. Therefore, I guess we need to allow them separately. Okay. So this is something that just simply is not in a documentation at this very moment. Escape ID part. So if the ID is UUID, just make sure that it's defined properly and escape properly. Otherwise, if it's a string, just escape string normally. If it's a big int or a number, so we are supposed to support big int as in decimal, I guess. I mean, it should be int 64 only, so I think we're good on that. Okay. And then we just do escape number. All right, I see. So this should be relatively easy to implement. The only thing is we don't have the UUID implemented yet, so no big deal. Escape ID part, so let's say ID will be the surreal value, because that's all we care about here. The ID part of a record ID. Some little edge cases here. So basically, we need to do case of ID kind of surreal string. So sure, surreal string, we just escape the identifier, and that's it. Of surreal integer will be escape. Because we have escape number, which is separate, right? So let's make it into something separate. Proc escape number. Let's just escape integer. As a string. And also proc escape integer, and value will be int 64. Huh. It's not that easy. Because it'll be either as int 64 with is negative, right? So here we're serializing it proper way. So escapes an integer so that it can be used within SurrealQL. There we go. So if value, if is negative, we just do that. Otherwise, we just do that. There we go. Proc escape integer, and that will be just int 64 as a normal one. Return this thing. Perfect. Okay, we should be good. So basically, escape identifier for integer, we're just gonna say escape integer id dot get raw id int comma id is negative. I think I can do that. Yeah, let's just import yeah, we might be creating another circular dependency, because in our utilities we are trying to use surreal value. While one surreal value tried to use escape ID part during stringification. Oh no. This never ends. Hmm. But are we going to use anything else? Let me just continue this code to see if, danger of circular dependencies. So that's one thing. We're not using any stringification methods. We're just accessing data, so that shouldn't be too bad. So it's serial string, serial integer, and then serial array or object will be just return and just stringify it. And that's it. Let me just make sure. Yeah, the only thing will be the actual UUID, which will have its own case. So let's just move those up. I'm gonna have those here of surreal UUID. And then we're gonna have to return you. Okay. Something like that sort. But we don't have the surreal UUID defined yet, right? So simply, I'm gonna comment it out and say to do support UIDs. There we go. Else, can I escape the ID part from that kind? There we go. Oh, ID kind. What the heck? Oh, yeah, it should be ID kind. So this will be import type serial value. So in theory, this should be happy. In theory. But in practice, this imports serial value, and in serial value, when we want to stringify stuff inside the I'll be here inside shared length 2 bytes to float, and we have the record ID. The record ID stringification goes here. Yeah, we need to escape this, and we need to escape the other stuff. Huh. So if it's real string, we need to. Okay. So let's get first all the let escaped table is escape identifier ID table. So this escape identifier, that means we need to import the utilities. So that will be inside the serial value. Port utils. Ay, ay, ay. And now it says it's not used. While here, I'm using it. Right? Escape identifier. There we go. So I'm using it here. That's the escape table. So wherever we have it here, we can just use that part. And then the inside of it, if it's a string, we need to escape the other stuff, or we don't really care. I think we don't have to care because we just escape ID part and it just checks the stuff for itself. Okay. All right. It's just gonna be an let escape ID is escape ID part. And that's that. That should be it. It's just unhappy about those parts. Because now I have circular dependency, probably. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, it calmed down. Errors disappeared from here. How about from here? I mean, no errors here other than remove lines. Okay, that does not matter. This one is still unhappy, but we're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it, no problem. So in our tests, let's go back to record IDs. So we've got our table thingy. And then we've got our ID. And when we try to serialize it, let's just not do that yet. Let's just try just that part. And let's see if I can even run this current file. It will probably fail. Undeclared identifier, serial value. Yeah, because when we try to import it here, it's circular dependency and it just freaks out. So how can we solve that? So that means that something like escape ID part, escape integers. I mean, escape integer, that can stay here. Can parse integer, that can stay in utilities. But escape identifier and ID part, I'm gonna make them to be a part of the record itself. Okay? Or probably not even. It should be part of serial value. So we import all the... Oh, it's not gonna be that simple, right? Because what do we need exactly? This doesn't care about anything. Okay, it just checks if we can parse it as integer and that's it. But escape ID part. So it needs to have access to the types, right? That's the first thing. Uh, all those parts are fine. Oh, it needs access here to be able to the shared thing. Shared and needs this. But at the same time, we already have it here forward declared. So we could do that part, which requires this thing to exist. So if we're gonna do this, we can just cut it out of here and plop it somewhere here. It's ugly, but it might work. It just might work. Escape ID part. And it should be escape integer. Yeah, because now it needs it from here, which should be able to import it properly now. Should be. Right? Please work. And this does not need to import surreal value anymore. There we go. Beautiful. Now it should all be fixed up. Huh. So let's go to our test and see if we can run it. All right. So what do we have here? Errors. Type mismatch. Escape identifier ID table. Oh, we need to just do string. Although our escape identifier could just take other stuff in, right? Proc escape identifier, which will be table as table name. And it just calls that for us. All right, so we can just forget about it. Wherever the problem was. Type mismatch. Where did I add the string thing? Oh, there we go. So let's run again. Undeclared identifier. TB. Oh. Really? Was it like a separate thing, like table or something? Table.name. Okay. It's gonna get simplified once we have enough of those types and we'll be able to just figure it out. Wait, cannot open the file. Private types table. How so? What? Real value. Oh, table is inside there. So we're table name. Well, here I'm wait. Table name. Okay, we're getting closer. So history value compared to a string. Oh, because ID. Ah, get string. Now it's fine. Now there should be no errors. So that's for that. But now let's check some of the additional things. Also, if we're gonna serialize it, this whole record, we should be able to compare it to this thing, right? That's how it's supposed to be serialized. And then we're gonna add another one. So record 2, you can just replace all this record 2. So let's just do that table is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And value here is 12-55- something 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 dash ABCD. That means that we need to check if the table is the same thing, which is supposed to be. If the string here is the same thing, which is supposed to be, but for the serialization, it's gonna be a little bit different. Because this is a number, this is gonna get serialized that way. And this should get escaped as well because it has a bunch of dashes which are not supported, I believe. Unless it's a UUID, which in this case it's not, so that's that. Because we defined as a string, right? Let me just check that if it works correctly. Ooh, error. Record was this. We missed the colon when we escape stuff. So let's take a peek at our serialization. Look at that. What? How did the other one work then? Come on. Oh, the other one didn't work in the first place. Yeah. Okay, that works. Both work, so that's great. Let's just keep pushing it. I want to make sure that it's all fine. Gonna do 20 underscore 50, right? That should be escaped. And voila, 5. That's just gonna be all normal. 2050? Or is it? Oh no. I mean, it's gonna be understood, I believe. Yeah, because it's gonna be just like that. Okay. Huh. I mean, in theory, it should be just removed, but it would be fine because this should be number 2050. And here will be just wall 5 without any extra escaping. Okay. No, this needs to be escaped. Because it's a number. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. Okay, good. And let's just, do we have anything else? Because it's a string, we should be able to say that it's like, hi, there, right? We should be able to specify this as a as a string value, and table name could be something like that, right? Good enough. And that should also cause everything to get escaped. Because this wasn't just normal stuff. Yeah, because this is an identifier, therefore it can contain only alphanumeric, but with an ASCII and underscores. So that's not happy, and this value will need to be escaped as well. Okay. There we go. Okay. Let's run it. Wait, this needs to be like that. Oops. Redefinition. Oh, of course, because I didn't make it into record 3. One, two. Oh, this needs to be record 3. Well, this needs to be record 4. Okay, good. Okay, that all that works, so we're good with that. And the thing is, because I want this to be a string explicitly, so I need to escape it no matter what. So even though I specify, let's make it record 5, that this will be user. If I'm gonna specify that this is 12001, right? But because I created from a string, I want to escape it explicitly. So that's that, in my opinion. So get string should return exactly the same string, and this should be exactly that. So let's just make sure that that works. Nothing got lost. Good. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So we can create it from a string. There we go. We tested the serialization to string, creating from string, and additionally I want to from an explicit string, and then let's do test create from a string representation. So I think I'm gonna run the same tests. It's just I'm gonna modify them a little bit. So let's just grab this one so AI can help us figure that out. So new record, and we just say that it's gonna be table 1. So let's do A, and this will be B, which will be just TB, not TB, RC. There we go. So I still want to be able to create records that way. Okay. Then we basically need to check record 1 A table is supposed to be table 1. The same thing here. A ID get string should be ABCD. And stringified should be the same thing. Should be. And it works. Okay. Good. So I'm just gonna recreate the other ones the same way. 2A, we've got this weird thing. But this is invalid. This should not work. But we're gonna make it work. uh, in theory, this is wrong. Oh, well, we're gonna make it work. Okay. I want... Oh, no. Oh, no. Because nothing is stopping us from putting a colon inside the name of the table as long as it's escaped. That means we need to write the whole ugly deserialization process. Oh, I hate that. Let's just not test those cases. To do. Test cases where colon is escaped. And we're just gonna say we have this thing. Hello. And it will be just the name of the table will be A, B, C, D, E, F, right? Because in theory, this is possible. I mean, let's check if it's possible. We go to our sandbox and we create record like this. Run. Yep, that's fine. And then will be to do test cases where ID is escaped. So this should work. Test cases where table is just escaped, right? Because that should still make it simple. Colon. Yeah, so I'm not gonna be taking care of that right now because that's just... If you're doing something like that, it's just ugly. This is ugly. And this is ugly. But that means that in theory, we cannot escape anything, to be honest. Huh. Okay, this is non-trivial. Because that means we will need to figure out, is it something else? Is it something else? All those things. I think I'm just gonna make it not possible to create records. Oh. Yeah, let's just remove that functionality for now. Possibility of creating records that way. Because it's nice for quick things, but it's kind of problematic right now. So if you want to shove in that kind of ID into your SurrealQL, go ahead. But if you want to have a proper one, just use new record ID. And that's going to be safer in the case. It's going to simplify testing for now and simplify basically everything. The other thing that we want to check is basically can create from an explicit, create from an integer. So table 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that means that get int. All right, and when serialized, it should look this way because we know how to serialize them. We just don't want to do parsing because parsing is 30 times more problematic, and that's where we would get into all the cases, and we're gonna do parsing if or when we're gonna do the whole overall thing. So that's that. We want to make sure that we can do negative, and we're just gonna say this is minus 12, and here we're just gonna say, wait, did I just, how do I define a new record? What the heck? Create from integer. Oh no. Ay ay ay. Int or int 8 or int that, and it should be fine in theory. And the same thing from uint. It all should be taken care by to surreal integer. And this will be I64. And let 3 will be 6U8. That's good enough for now. Let's just make sure it actually works. And biggest call. Because doesn't specify anything. So I wonder if we can just turn it into one happy thing. And I wonder if we have just anything. Some integer. What is some integer exactly? Do we have a definition of that anywhere? Undeclared field, get int. What? What just happened? To surreal integer. Ay, 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 ay. Because this is some integer, so two surreal integer suddenly gets confused, right? So we go integer, and we have two surreal integer, right? This one. And that does its own thing. While two surreal integer here does its other thing. Hmm. So it doesn't like this thing. Maybe it's gonna like this thing. Although I don't think so. Yeah, same thing. Undeclared field, get int. True value, blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? It's not that this didn't work. It's just overall it didn't work. So let's just do some integer. Okay, because that was fine. And here we just need to specify which integer we're getting, right? So instead of get int will be get int 64, and all those should work. Undeclared field get int 64. Really? Is it 2 and 64? Ah, it's 2. I'll need to figure that naming out a little bit nicer. Because sometimes it's get, sometimes it's 2, and it's confusing. Okay, so check file for this because it showed up as that. Oh, ay. So it got escaped for some reason. It shouldn't get escaped though. Huh. So let's see how it's done here. In the thing here. Because we have escaped this. So string record ID. To string. This record ID. Huh. Oh, string record ID, or we have a normal record ID. And to string will be ID escape ID part. So the escape ID part basically checks if it's a string, if it's a number integer, do something else, all that stuff. So, oh, if it's a number, escape it. What? So we're always escaping the number? Oh, this is different. Oh, So escape number separate. My bad. Escape number, we just give it like this, and if it's something larger than N64, then we're gonna skip it that way. But we're not supporting that right now. So this will be where we basically support decimals. So I guess in theory we need to support decimals as the part of the thing. So in our record ID, when we create it, or like escape ID part, if it's just serial integer, we don't need to escape it. We just serialize the number, right? So let's do escape integer here. Escape integer. Escapes an integer so that it can be used within SurrealQL. So we can parse as int, return it the way it is. Otherwise, do it that way. But that didn't work. Oh, because we have escape integer and we gave it the is negative, is not, all that fancy stuff. Oh, that's it. So for the integer, we don't really need to enclose it in those because it's fine. Right? Or do we? Where do we use escape integer? Because we have the whole... Oh gosh, this is getting convoluted. Why is it getting convoluted so quickly? Because escape identifier. If it can parse as integer, do this. Otherwise, do that. Okay, so we're not reusing that functionality here. Okay, so that's good. Okay. Just check if it can parse as integer, and then we need to escape it if it's an identifier. But in our case, it's not. So escape integer, if we just give it this way, it can be just represented without anything here. Okay? That's one thing. Okay? Great. But if it is something larger, that will be different. So an ID part. We also need to add to do support decimals. Big int. Right? And if it's this and that, then we're gonna just straight up escape it. Which will be escape decimal. And that's it. Okay, just like that. But we don't worry about those, we don't have them implemented, then we're gonna be hopping around when we actually have them. So that's some progress. And now our test, in theory, should pass. Unless I modified some silly thing. Record ID is this. Why was escape? I wasn't expecting it to be that way. Because negative can just be here, no problem. Okay, good. That was a wrong test on my part. Was table this. Okay. Fail, can create from integer. Wait, what? Table 1, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Record 2 was table 1, colon 4, 4 for some reason. Oh, because negatives aren't happy about it. That's what it is. I was wondering if I'm misusing something. Ay, ay, ay. So the problem is that when I escape the number, which is probably here. Wait, where is it? Escape ID part. When we have an integer, I give it the get raw integer and is negative. Okay, and this get raw integer for integers, basically, if they're negative, it stores a different value inside the thing. So in this case, in this case, I basically need to check if I can do something else. Because we have two uints and blah and blah and blah. Get raw integer. Turns the raw integer value stored in SurrealDB value, in a Surreal value, right? And that just returns the int value. But if I will do that, just get me int64, right? If it's negative, we're just gonna get an error. But if we're gonna go here, it checks the range, and then that's the thing where it increases the value or something. So inside the record, we need to do additional thing. Because escape integer takes u64, and if it's negative, we need to take care of that here. So can I just do if is negative, we're just gonna return this plus 1. Otherwise, that. Okay? And that's it. That should be it. I hope. Because for serialization, we just want this stable thing. So let's see if our test is fixed. Okay, now it's fixed. Now negative values work as intended. Great. Okay, so we can create them from integer. What other variants do we have of creating the record IDs? From a string, from integer, and then we have basically from array and objects. And we need to kind of take care of that. Although it's gonna be tough to serialize it because, you know, when serialized, it could be just displayed in various ways. But oh well. Let's just see if we can roughly test it. So tests can create from an array. Let's just add a to do. To do test creation, creating from an UID, and from decimal. Okay, those are the 2 extra things that we need to add. But for now on, can create from an array, and let's just create. Okay, we've got this array of 1 to 3. So in theory, I should be able to say that we. Oh, it does not like it. Oh, because it needs to be all surreal values. Okay, so we need to serialize each one of them, and now it's happy. And then we can say table is this, and then sequence 0 to integer 64 should be this. Sure. And 3, and how it should be displayed. Well, I expect that it's serialized to something of this sort. And this needs to be actually escaped. Because if it's not, then, like, seriously? Or no, wait a moment. No, it shouldn't be, because if we would have serialized it that way, it would assume it as a string. If it's not, it's just that. Okay, good. I think. Can I create an object like that? Yes, I can. Okay, good. So I would expect that whatever I create, it returns me this thing. Because that's how I want it to be just displayed nice and concise way. And that ain't gonna happen. Whoa, it's table and we have nothing, comma 1, comma 2, comma 3. What the heck? I guess the serialization of arrays has never been tested. So that's where we begin. So I'm gonna actually create already a second test where I want them nested. So we're gonna have 1, and then we're gonna have high 3 and 6 6 1, and I don't know if that's gonna work. Maybe it's gonna work. We'll see. But table 1, yes. Let's just do a table 2. There we go. And 1 something 3. So this thing get array or get sequence? How did we implement that? An array, not in tests. I want the actual array. Get sequence. And 0 will be no. 0 will be to string or get string. Hi. 1 will be this and that. Good. And this one will be just 3. But serialized, it needs to look like hi, this and that. There we go. That's my expectation. And literal 3 for 3, but expecting a string. Because we need to pre-serialize them in that case. Yep. So that we can fit multiple weird things into one thing. So that should compile. It's just fails because it has different return values. So in our serialization thing, so that will be in shared, we have serialized and we have the array. If it's 0, return this. We have this. If one element only, we do that, and otherwise we do this and bunch of combining, right? So item in for each item in this, we just say previous text. Oh, I see. I see. Yeah. We need to redo that a little bit. So we're just gonna say that we're just gonna grab the first element here, right? This is our thing of 0. For I and from 1 to this thing, we just add them that way. Okay. Without spaces. And we end with that, and that's it. So that should suddenly work. Like magically. Ah, look at that. It doesn't it didn't escape the quotes for some reason. Yeah. So when we try to serialize serial string to string, it just returns a string, right? So that's fine. Or is it? I think we should put it in quotes or something. Actually. Yeah. I think it needs to be quoted for when we're doing this, and this way it'll be different than just get string. Because get string should return us the value, while if we serialize it to string, stringify it, it should escape it, just like it does with all the other things, I think. Hmm. So in Surreal integer, we also want to add a to do handle large negative integers, whatever large integers, including negative U64s, because we're not handling it right now, which is a bad thing. It's just nice to have a to do in there. So in that case, I want to change how we serialize that. So it will be this and that. And we just need to run this one. And now it should, in theory, work. Okay. But because we just did that, I expect that all the other tests, or at least some of them, might start failing. So let's just rerun all the tests and make sure that we don't have any errors there. Because I might have used just, hey, serialize the string without thinking about it. There we go. So then we've got check failed. Ah, see? That's where we did that. String can create string from empty string. So this thing, we need to change that in all the instances that we have it used to get string. Oh, wait a moment. So everywhere is being used for checking. Okay, so that's here we need that get string. Dot get string. Okay, but down here is the only one where we're actually checking two. So I want to do this equals that. We'll just hard code it here, just because we expect it to work that way. I guess we'll just need to have a separate test for how we're serializing data into those, serialized representations. In theory, we could have a variant of that, like to serial QL or to something else, but not yet. We'll be probably finishing shortly. Oh, what happened here? Decoder of strings. Ah. So here, do we have more of those? Find our way. Yes, we have more, but just two. So this thing. Oh, so we already checked the get string. Okay, so here we just want the thing to be a little bit more fun. Okay. One more run. Should go faster now, because the other ones are pre-compiled already. Okay, good. Now I have everything working. So we can just continue with our test of the record ID because this one, I believe it's good enough. Okay. Create from an array. I'm happy with that. It just works for now. Can create from an object. Okay, that's the last one. So what we're gonna do here is just that. Okay, 1 and 2. No, it doesn't like it. I think we just need to serialize those for now. And it'll be hello. Let's make it minus 12.5. There we go. So now we want to check if it's table 1 and we want to check that ID, and I believe we can do this to get 2 float 64 is this. B get string is this. Good. And now the representation will be table. We have A is this, B is that. Huh. Kind of, but not really. Let's check that. So what if I'm gonna say that I'm gonna create it to be A is whatever 12 and B is hello. Can I do it that way? It worked. Okay, that worked. So that's progress. Can I also say like this? Can I escape it that way? Whoa. What the heck just happened here? Doesn't mean it's escaped or something? Confusing. Can I do it that way? No. So it's properly escaped. Okay. And now it's unhappy because this is not proper escape. I would need to do it that way. Okay, it just prints it that way. Okay, I see. Huh. So this is just serialized in some funny fashion. I see. We can ignore that part, in theory. So what if I'm just gonna make it A and B? It say already exists. Okay, so I can have quotes. I don't have to have those quotes, but if I would say this thing, then I would need to add the fancy either this or the backticks. Yep, or exists, or the other funny things, the angle weird things. Yeah, so that could be one option. But let's specify it a little bit more. Oh, I just realized something. So notice that. Where do we have it? Now shared. When we have the come on. Yeah, we have array. Where's the object? Object. Okay, so we're doing this. And if we have just one object, we have the pair of object variable pairs to sequence 0. return bam, pair 0, and pair 1. Okay. So the string just goes here because it's supposed to be a string. So we should actually escape it. And there are just so many ways to escape the strings. So what if? Let me grab those. Can I just do it this way here? Will that be correct? Yes, that is correct. Okay. But it's just gonna want to serialize it in that way because reasons. Okay, it's just gonna serialize that way. But for our own purposes, we can just use different ways. So we have escape integers here. And parse as integer, all that fancy stuff. But inside our record or something, escape identifier or ID part. If it's a string, you have escape identifier. Oh, and that means that we can just do this thing. If it's an integer, do this. If it's something else, do the same thing. I mean, in theory, we could just reuse it, right? And this whole thing, in theory, it could go to utils. So let's move it to utils. I think it should still work no problem in utils. Just keep double spacing for consistency. The thing that I'm not really doing much. I'm gonna import types table name because that's the only one that we actually need in here. And that shouldn't be in a circular reference, so that's good. So now this one stays the same, but when I have serialization of the string, so the thing here is that we could either have it escape this way, or we can just, for our purposes, do it completely different. We have enters in that string. Oh no. Oh no. What if I'm gonna create a table that has this, like that? Oh no, it works. Explorer. Table space 1. Oops. And doesn't even show the record. Okay, let's report a bug. Oh, we found a strange thing to do. Uh, let's just find it here somewhere. SurrealDB Surrealist. There we go. We open up new issue because I don't think we have that here. Can I query name? New issue. Bug report. Explore. Yeah, let's just make sure that we're gonna go here. Table 1, refresh. Yeah, it doesn't see it. 4, record. And we don't have it here. While if I do select everything from oof, from table 1. Oh dear, this is horrible. It works. It just prints it horribly. Uh, Explorer doesn't show records and tables that contain new line. After creating a record and a table, so steps to whatever to reproduce, create new record and a strangely named table. Okay, and we're just gonna do this. Okay. So the description of a bug. A table named table that contains a new line character and its name is improperly displayed and doesn't show any existing records. So let's just take a screenshot of this thing. We're gonna make it smaller so that it's easy to understand. Explore table 1 and there we go. So I mean, I don't have to put anything. So let's copy it and bam. The new line isn't displayed. It just looks like a space. Okay, create this. And one can query it to see the results. And the results are ugly. That's what I made manual, right? So let's just do delete this. Oh dear. Thing. Okay, and now our select returns properly. Okay, cool. That's it. Expected behavior. Display records and the table. Not sure how to handle the table name properly. in this case, escape it. But then how does one differentiate it between those? And SurrealQL, because we can do few things, right? Because we can create table, and let's just, yeah, we're gonna leave that example as it is. But basically, we could have a table name with space, right? And just say this is the contents is 1, 2, 3. That's just something. Okay, can I just do this? Run. We did that. Okay. Then we're gonna do something very similar, but we're just gonna put quotes around it. And we should be able to run it, right? And we have another table. And then we're just gonna do create. I mean, we could just straight up do this. And it should still work because it should be properly unescaped. Yep, that's a separate table. And also we could have this. Oh, this is painful. The ways you can, the things you can do here. Or something like this. Or that. Or that. Or just that. Or even this, which should be 2 spaces. Notice 2 space after new line. And what the hell is Explorer gonna show? So yeah. Let's just take a screenshot of that. And we can just paste it here. This is gonna give somebody a headache. Where's our thingy? Here. Surrealist. Sandbox 305. That's a 305, right? Yeah. Yep. Yep. And there we go. Edge cases. Horrible edge cases. The moment you deal with strings. Not fun. That's what I can say. It's not fun. So in that case, I think we're just gonna say, because of escape identifier. Yeah, I think we're just gonna do that escape identifier and that's it. But wait, identifier also checks if it can parse. Okay. If it's not, it's just gonna put as a number. Oh no. Proc escape string. And we're just gonna do this, period. And then instances of that, we're just gonna escape with this thing, and that's it. Okay? As simple as that. Always escape it. So in here, we can just do string value dot escape string. And that's it. It's gonna be ugly as heck. And we're gonna need to fix all those little spots that we touched already again. But oh well, that's how it goes. So that means in our tests, we will actually get these funny escape characters. Where are they? Bam. Are we gonna get them everywhere? Or will we? Oh, we're gonna get it like this. And like B will get this. Hello. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, we're always escaping it, right? Always. So we're just gonna always have it here. And that's it. Oh, that's gotta be disgusting. I mean, in theory, I could just use the stuff from JSON, but here for displaying purposes, I'm just gonna do it this way. It's gonna be a little bit simpler, no weird escape stuff, and it should be fine. Okay. I mean, it's utterly ugly, but oh well. And that means this will be changed as well. And that might be it for now. Let's see what happens. Oh, what? Oh, we have the same problem in serializing objects, right? One, the pair is like that. The other one is like this. And uh, so the pair is this. Value object pairs. Oh, to sequence 0. Okay, so let pairs is to sequence. Pairs 0, 0. Pairs 0, 1. Okay. And now, basically for one, basically for the rest, just gonna have let pair is this thing, and therefore you can start adding those, but no random spaces or anything. I think. No new lines, nothing else. Okay. I am happy with that. Although I don't know how that will work with record IDs. Huh. So create uh whatever, and we make it an object of a user 12. Can I do that? I can. It figures it out. Okay, so we're good. We are good. We can skip all those spaces. And hopefully now it's gonna serialize properly. Type mismatch. Oh. Not much of a type mismatch, to be honest. Was table A space something? Oh, because here in the first one we still have a space somewhere. Here, a little sneaky space. Oh, A and B aren't escaped. Why? Okay, so we need to apply it here because here we have serialization, where here we have no serialization. So we basically need to do escape string. Escape string. And I'm just gonna do that. Force it to be just all escaped, no matter what. I know it's ugly, but it's a starting point. Without going over. What am I doing? Run this as a task. Okay, now it's happy. All right, I'm just gonna stop at this simple test because I don't think there's a need to go nesting and do other stuff. We've got enough of that already. Okay, good. I think we're gonna be finishing for now. I just need to run all the tests and probably correct everything around it. So let's just do run tests. And let's find a few of those cases where we have weird stuff going on. Maybe it's not gonna be that bad. Okay. First of all, this thing, it expects quotes around it. But not really anymore. It's gonna be those ugly things. Huh. Okay, so far a lot are passing. I mean, it's an encoder and decoder will be testing more using strings. So there'll be more errors, I'm sure. There we go. So, and decoder string, yes, this is another one where we had the same problem basically. Bam, and bam. Let me just copy it to the side so I can just copy the two and just move it around. Okay, got that part, and We also have the same thing to take care of in here. Okay, good. Okay, all is passing. So what do we have now? Let's just add our existing test, the record ID, to our record suite, test suite. So we have value, and this will be somewhere here, record ID. We can run the tests again just to make sure everything passes, including the new test. Looks like it does. Good. Okay. Everything's passing, so let's just push the code and finish for today. So the record ID and serial value, yeah, we did a lot of changes. Like, a lot. We moved stuff around, shifted around, changed how we're formatting things. Bunch of utilities for string handling. Not stuff I like, but stuff that needs to be done, basically. And not the best solutions everywhere either. So it'll be at whatever, record ID handling and serialization. I'm just gonna call it that way because it's just too many various little changes to really dig into that. All right. Okay. That's great. So that works. And that's it for today. All right. I wish everyone has the great rest of the weekend. And if you enjoyed the content, you can consider liking and subscribing on YouTube or follow on Twitch. And I'll see you around tomorrow with Unreal Engine. All right. See you around.